So welcome back to Smoking and Toasting, brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Avenue in Houston, and in the shops at Clearworth in Fort Worth. I'm sorry, the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. And the Fort Worth just opened up. Ian and I have not been there yet, but we are planning a road trip. We're getting ready to do it, and it's going to be very exciting. So how cool is Rocky Patel?
Man,
I mean, seriously.
that guy was super cool.
Seriously. Now, I felt like I do want to apologize. I felt like I was hogging the interview.
Well, you did, but there was a good reason. Like, we had the one mic, and the way we had it set up so quick, and I only interrupted the one time you were asking all the great questions. You're good at this. I figured I'd let you to it.
Well, I wasn't trying. So I was able to keep from telling Rocky the story of when I first met him. Dude, you may not remember this, but I met you one time. It was really cool.
That was cool.
No, but I did meet him at a cigar dinner in New Hampshire. Two Guys Smoke Shop in New Hampshire, just over the state line from Massachusetts. Used to go up there occasionally when I lived in Boston. They were doing a cigar dinner, and I wound up, and this is before Rocky Patel had ever put his name on cigars. He was running the Indian Tobacco Cigar Company, which we mentioned in the interview.
Right.
So I sat down at the table because there were like assigned seating at the cigar dinner, and I don't remember how much it cost, but you got dinner and some wine and beers, and then you got several cigars. And so I'm sitting there excited about getting my cigars or whatever, and this guy sits next to me. I'm like, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. He's like, blah, blah, blah. So what do you do? He said, oh, I'm Rocky Patel. I go, oh, you're the guy from Indian Tobacco, because I'd read about him, right? I was like, that's awesome. I love your cigars. And he goes, well, do you like those? Just wait. I'm about to release cigars under my own name. And in my brain, I thought, your name is Patel. That's not a cigar name. Like, that was what I thought at the time. But I didn't say that. I said, oh, that's awesome. And he reached in his jacket pocket and handed me the first Rocky Patel vintage. It was a vintage 1990 that I had ever seen.
And those are so good.
And I proceeded to clip it and smoke it at the table, and it blew my mind. I loved it.
Those are so good.
So that's my first memory of meeting Rocky Patel.
Now, you also said that there was an incident like that you saw him do at the Center Bar.
Yes.
In Vegas.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Yes. So the day after the events, the day we were flying home, I was sitting actually in the Center Bar watching the football game. Mm-hmm. And Rocky and Nish and Nimish were all actually sitting in a booth behind us. And I did not go over and bother him because I didn't want to be that guy, you know. Plus, I'm still a little fanboyish. I admit it. Like I
want
recognize.
to go over and be like, "Hey, Rocky, remember when we talked yesterday?
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was really cool." Yeah. But interestingly enough, there were two guys who came up and just sat at the bar, and they were sitting next to each other, and they were pulling out cigars and looking at them. Obviously, they'd either come for the big smoke or something. So they were pulling out cigars, looking at them, talking to each other about cigars, and I saw Rocky get up from his seat, go over and introduce himself to the guys. And I saw them go, oh, and then I saw him reach in his jacket pocket and pull out cigars. And
he's a little bit like
guys.
a superhero.
He is. He's like the ambassador superhero dude man
that guy
of the cigar industry.
Like, to get it across, that guy really is that nice.
But think about it if that was your job. Like, wouldn't that be just freaking awesome?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And he does it well. And he's, as we talked about in the interview, he spends a lot of time lobbying for cigars.
Yes,
too.
and he's a perfect guy to do that. Because he's very personable, and when he speaks it makes sense, and he's like, he's not like us. I'd be out there going, you gotta let us have our cigars because
I want to smoke.
We really like them. And remember that time?
Cigar's good.
Yeah, cigar's good. So
speaking of cigars good, beer good.
Beer is good too, and we have one that's very interesting here to taste. This is the Lagunitas Eroica. And by the way, I was able to look a little closer, and the Eroica is an ale. You just took a whiff of the top of the bottle. What do you think?
It smells good.
Yeah, what kind of a beer smell?
This is a farmhouse ale, actually.
Oh, a farmhouse. I don't do a lot of farmhouse ales, so I haven't
right off
had
of the
one in a
website. This is a Lagunitas-ified version of Lagunitas-ified. I like that. Version of a traditional Flemish farmhouse ale aged in red wine oak barrels and funked up with Brettanomyces yeast.
Well, I can
that
tell,
means it's going to be sour.
Yeah, I can tell the red wine right off the top on the nose. I just poured this and took the first whiff. So
it's a golden saison sour with a nice tartness that leaves your buds quenched and wanting more.
Now then it
says Prost.
This is really interesting, and props to you too. And I will tell you right off the bat, I am not always the biggest fan of farmhouse ales, but I've already taken my first sip, and I love this.
I like farmhouse ales when they don't taste. Like some of them have that kind of rot flavor that's kind of good, but not really.
That's
what I
struggle with. And
overripeness is what I've told it actually is.
That's a perfect way to say it.
Instead of rot.
So what I'm getting here on the Eroica, though, and it's almost a shame that this is a one-hitter series because I like it a lot.
Good.
The tartness of the sour completely keeps that rot. But I can't believe we're saying rot. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Overripeness. Okay, so there's a lot of banana in this, but there's also a lot of bread, and then there's that tartness, and so it's
that
like
almost like cherry tartness. Yes,
and cherry. Yeah, I mean, it's like this is a lot of good things.
This is
happening.
a delicious beer.
Yes. And what's funny is
very complex.
You think with that tartness that the aftertaste would linger, but it doesn't. It's actually pretty quick overall on the tongue.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, it reminds me, even though the flavor is different. The drinking experience reminds me a lot of my very favorite sour or tart beer, which is the Raspberry AF from St. Arnold.
Also has that nice, delicious, quick finish.
And it goes away quick, but it leaves that wonderful little tang in your mouth.
But the difference between that being a Berliner Weiss and this being the Farmhouse Ale is you get that more banana profile in this, banana breadiness.
Now, see, if this was the first farmhouse I tried, I wouldn't have the sort of mental block
You'd be like,
I have
love
against
those.
farmhouse. Yeah, I would. I'd be like,
well, I think
love me
some
farmhouse.
I think the style gets abused a little bit though, because like I said, that overripeness. Some people just push so much of that flavor in there, and it just kind of kills the fun in a farmhouse ale.
Do you think? Let me ask you this question, since we have a moment here. Do you think that?
Hold on, let me get my serious face on. Give me a second. It's coming.
Okay.
Wait for it.
Good. Got it.
Wait, not serious enough. Are you ready?
Okay, yep. Oh, now you're totally serious. I hope you were watching this on Facebook Live or on YouTube, because there's no way I could describe this and do it justice. Oh, my God. Where did you get those?
Okay, go ahead. We're making faces here. You actually have to watch the video to see that.
I'm not even going to try to describe it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Back
so,
to what you were doing.
Ian, do you think that we were talking about farmhouse ales and how some of them just really are kind of tough to navigate, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that there is such a thing as a sort of an elitist attitude among some brewmasters where they're like, I'm going to make a beer that most people are not going to like, but only people that maybe fall into this certain segment of eliteness will. Do you think that any of that exists today?
I think that's the model that Dogfish Head built their company on, and it's awesome.
But see, they make awesome beers, though, so it's hard to like. I mean, I just had. I was at Liberty Kitchen last weekend and had the Dogfish Head 90.
It's great.
IPA,
it's a brilliant IPA.
And was just marveling at how good that IPA is.
It might be, in my mind, that's one of the best IPAs there is.
It's really, but the 60's good too.
The 60's good, but the 90 really hits the spot. The 120 is ridiculously good as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good, but it's like also 18 to 21%, depending on when they make it. We had that on a show.
Yes, it was good.
But I mean, like Dogfish Head, I think is one of those no compromise companies. They make beer that they think is interesting and hope. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they just put it out there and go, maybe someone likes it. I don't know.
But you're right.
So I think there's a little bit of a, you could call it elitist, or you could say, hey, we're doing this craft for us, and hopefully other people will appreciate that artistry.
Yeah.
Which I think
but you
hits
don't
the
think
mark
it's
sometimes.
I want to piss off most of the drinkers.
I think that
just
sometimes there can be in any artist's nature, there can be a backlash of, I don't want to hold the customer's hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like,
I want them to either like it or get it or don't. You know,
like you remember the classic rock, classic hits band Chicago.
Yeah.
So they did this one tour right at the height of their popularity, where they played none of their hits. Like the whole tour.
They played all the Chicago Transit Authority stuff.
Played all the like deep cuts and stuff.
Love that stuff.
Which if you were like a super
South
hardcore
California
fan, you might have been
and-
into it. But if you were the average concert goer, you're like,
What is this?
what happened to Make Me Smile? Where's Color My World? Like, right, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and it was just nothing. And I saw Harry Connick Jr. He had released an album of very Zydeco influenced stuff. That was actually a really well done, very brilliant album. But the whole amphitheater full of people where I saw him were waiting to hear "It Had to Be You."
Right.
And
you
I
say
just
tomato, I say tomato.
if he had just mixed a couple of those in, they would have loved his Zydeco stuff. But people walked out.
The last time I saw Iron Maiden played nothing but their newest stuff.
Oh, see, that's a mistake.
And see, to me, I love that though.
Yeah.
I have the albums. I've heard all that. I have the live albums. I've heard all of that.
Okay, you can laugh at me if you want, but I went to see once in a casino in Mississippi the Little River Band.
Awesome.
And they came out and they played, the hits that you would expect. And about midway through the set, the lead singer says, the band has an announcement to make. Tonight, we will not be playing any new songs. And they started, reminiscing, one of their biggest hits, right? And he goes, we don't know any new songs. And the audience went, yay! It was a brilliant moment.
Well, I understand going and seeing one of your favorite bands and wanting to hear some of the old stuff. But at the same time, I love to hear a band evolve.
I agree. I like a mix.
I want to hear the new stuff that I haven't heard before. Clutch does that. A lot of times they'll play nothing but the
Clutch
newest
is
stuff.
A great live band.
I got
though.
tickets to the next Clutch show, which is coming up in just a couple weeks.
About that. By the way, we're almost out of show. I want to thank Rocky Patel, and I also want to thank Austin Moore of Rocky Patel's
Who helped hook that
company.
all up, yeah.
Yes, and Nish Patel, who also was very instrumental in helping the whole thing happen. You guys are big fans and supporters of the show, and we appreciate you very much. We will be back. We have so much to do. We have a Christmas Ale show coming up. We're going to be live at B&B again in just minutes, practically. There's so much going on, and I'm so excited about it. And 2018 is going to be the biggest year yet for the Smokin' and Toastin' show. Thank you guys for taking the journey with us. Show number 67 has been fun. And could I see those glasses just one more time?
One more time?
Yeah,
okay,
just one
for
more
the
time.
Facebook Live, folks. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, here we go.
Here goes. There it is.
And cheers.
Cheers.
I can't take you seriously.
This is Radio Clash on Pirate Satellite, orbiting your living